Hello everyone, I'm Steve. Mark's around. Say hi, Mark. And this is Smokey Steve and Mark. Welcome or welcome back. Tonight is very exciting. We have part one of a not too many part series that I wanted to do, titled My Rehab Notebook. Now, in case you haven't been paying attention, I was a very ill alcoholic for the better part of my 20s. And I had been in rehab probably 5 or 6 different times, and had been in jail and then psych wards and all the fun stuff that goes with it. On May 2nd, 2012, I made what I hope is my last trip to jail, violated my probation, sat in jail for 3 weeks, and was then furloughed to a 90-day treatment center that dealt with folks with co-occurring mental health, drug, and alcohol concerns. It was a great place to get the right kind of help. Never had it before. But I was shy, and it was a unit, of about 40 guys. And I don't mingle well with other guys usually. So it was a little challenging. And I talked to my therapist there, and I said, I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't stop crying, and I can't shut up, and I can't stop. And she was like, well, we're going to have you utilize your talents. Because she was like, you have a college degree. You've had several jobs. What the hell are you doing here? Why are you drinking mouthwash instead of vodka? Not why are you drinking it all? Why are you drinking that instead of that? And so in talking, she decided that because my mind was a bit more active and she thought I had a creative flair, that I'm going to be writing essays as part of my treatment plan. So there was 4 or 5 different topics that she hammered out of things I said that bother me, that I don't know what to do, things that make me feel like a bad person, and we narrowed it down to a few separate topics. Now, the first one that jumped out at me was attention-seeking people and immaturity. Guys are like 15 until they're 50 sometimes. Add in the stunted growth with addiction, and it was like romper room sometimes. And that bothers me. It always bothered me since I was a kid. People who are like rude, trying to talk over you, trying to get all the eyes on them, and they just can't shut up. So the prompt I was given was, what's a more productive way for me to cope with attention seekers and immaturity? And it went a little something like this. As far back as I can remember, I have had difficulty in social situations that involve people who have immature or attention-seeking behavior. The particular behaviors that bother me are the forms of acting out that include whining, crude jokes at inappropriate times, things done or said specifically for shock value, speaking loudly when it's unnecessary, and generally disrespectful things like talking when someone else has the floor, or talking during an entire meeting but expecting silence when said person opens their mouth. My new ways of dealing with this type of behavior have never been helpful to me, and certainly not considerate of those seeking said attention. My old standby is sarcasm, but this doesn't come up until I've hit a point where my internal monologue of just shut the F up already has worn out. Standard sarcastic responses include, who are you trying to impress? No wonder your wife/girl/baby mama won't call you. And do you ever think anything you don't say out loud? Boy, the arrogance. The ego. So, my other unhealthy coping skill is what I believe the Germans call Schadenfreude, or taking pleasure in the misfortune of others. In this instance, it means reveling in the attention seeker's behavior blowing up in their face. Examples: when a self-proclaimed ladies' man gets put on contract for getting caught with a female patient, or an aggressor shot caller type gets dragged back to jail for starting a fight in the cafeteria. It happened that month. I believe the core of my intolerance towards attention seekers is my highly judgmental attitude and my quick jump to conclusions about the whole person based on just a few behaviors. It's unreasonable of me to put people into categories like this and that without really knowing more about them than a few outbursts. Further, I would not want someone to judge me based on a few specific things I did and then sum me up or dismiss me. And wrapping up, I think the 2 things I need to keep in mind are open-mindedness and compassion. Open-mindedness to reserve judgment of others based on a few observations, and compassion that I believe I should extend myself to all people by virtue of just being human. My intolerance of attention seekers completely disagrees with my values of respecting others. Further, it ignores the separation of the person from the behavior. In fact, I have already had meaningful conversations with many of these people. These conversations are generally one-on-one, where there's no competition for attention, no avoidance, no pleasure at the person's misfortune. I think getting to know the person will humanize them and keep me then, I hope, valuing their life and mine. So, I had to read that in front of my small group. There was about 20 of us there. No, that's a lie. 10 of us there. And Willie, if you've heard of Willie, who I've mentioned before, and he has 2 videos, I think, dedicated to him. Willie was in my small group. There was like 10 of us, and we were all guys. And it was a different kind of vibe than the other treatment centers I had been in. It was a little more raw. It was a little more real. It was a little more, this is what you have to look forward to. You know, it's not going to be country club, Malibu ranch type treatment centers. You're going to get what Medicaid will pay for, and you're going to make the best of it, I guess. So at the time that I wrote this, I had 2 other prompts come through, and I did another essay on not just attention seeking, but also dealing with being overly emotional. Overly expectant, and I had a couple that I spit out about that. And I think kind of, like me, they're, I hope, factual, easy to listen to, but also, you know, I am seeing some of my faults looking back. I would like to think most of us have grown a bit in 12 years, so that's a good thing. And I would say, going forward, this is going to be a look back for me also. I didn't see the kind of snobbiness that was in that at the time. I didn't realize that I was positioning myself, without saying it, as I'm different from everyone. I wasn't that different. I was just pretty much a garden variety drinker. But I had to feel special in some way. And in this situation, I was probably the highest educated person among the patients. And so I liked that little flex when she said write stuff. It blew my ego straight up in the air. And of course I'll write something. I'll write something meaningful and beautiful and perfect and inspiring, and you'll hang it on the walls and put it on rubber bands and send them out to people to wear on their wrists. All I was there to do was not drink to death. And I got wrapped up in all this other big philosophical, metaphysical kind of crap that had very little to do with the fact that I didn't know how to live at all. I wasn't living when I was drinking, but at least I was numb to it, because feelings were just a little too raw for me, permanently. And that treatment center was 90 days, and then I went home, and we tried again. I went back home to live with Mark and my parents. He stayed with my parents when I was in rehab. And we weren't dating at the time, so it was a discussion about whether or not he was going to be there when I come back, whether he was going to stay. Because I thought that's got to be weird for him, you know, move in with a couple of strangers and then, you know, you're with them all the time because your friend is drinking himself to death, because why not? So there was a lot going through my mind at the time of writing these, and actually it did help me focus on stuff because I was fixated on home, fixated on going back to jail, fixated on what's Mark doing when I'm not there, all that kind of stuff. So it was an opportunity to gather my thoughts. And current date, you can see why I might have a little twitch towards Chantal when it talks about attention seeking, being crude for crude's sake, that kind of thing. The kind of personality that she has and that type of behavior is hardwired. I don't just hate Chantal. I've hated people like this for over a decade. Okay? And coming out of treatment, I got a lot better. And actually going in through the 12-step rooms for a few years, I don't go now. I wouldn't go back. But I was glad I went, and I would go again. It was great getting out of treatment to get me socialized. Like, I drank alone. I didn't really talk to anybody. So all of my deep, brooding thoughts, all of my brilliance was too busy puking just to share anything profound or meaningful, or even try to, or have the arrogance to think that it was. I don't say that to diminish myself. It's more about me being right-sized. It's about staying right-sized. I'm no better than you. You're no better than me. You know, we're all on that plane. And I had to get a little more real and a little more humble after that. And I had some humbling experiences that did bring that around. So, that was today's Rehab Notebook reading. And what my thoughts are is that I'm going to sit down with you guys maybe 3-4 times. Of these essays I wrote, there's like another 3 or so. And so what I thought I would do is, every time I have one of these, if it's a week, every 2 weeks, whatever, pick out another portion from that period of time talk about that time a hot minute, read what I had written back then, and then see if it still applies now, and if I'm still 12 years ago, or if I'm closer to, a more ideal self, a more improved self. Not a perfect self, but a little better than I was. So thank you for watching to this point. Thank you for joining me. Please do subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Hit the thumbs up as well, if you'd be so kind. We're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, X. All our contact info and stuff is listed below. Thank you very much. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and we will catch up with you very, very soon. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Look after yourselves, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye. Say goodbye, Mark. Bye.